topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending. This isn't just a podcast. This is a call to action for all entrepreneurs who are tired of seeing their businesses and communities suffer while big business continues to grow by the billions. We challenge you to apply the content of our time together to create businesses that your clients can't resist, your employees love to work for, and your communities can depend on. Now is the time for Entrepreneurs Ascending. Welcome, and yes, now is the time, and we are going to have a guest today. I'm kind of changing up the format a little bit as we're continuing to improve the show and take it to the next level. But today, we're going to focus on really productivity and focus and how you do that as an individual. There's lots of ways to increase your productivity in a business, right? There's delegation and automation, principles of leverage, and being able to you have the force multipliers that allow you to do a lot more by using the skill sets and the abilities of other people and all that. And those things are phenomenal. But sometimes it's got to be you. It's got to be me. It's got to be that person in that moment getting stuff done. And there are so many distractions, so many stressors, so many things that can take our eye off the ball. And I think a lot of people, they try to multitask. And the truth is, multitasking is kind of a lie. It just really isn't done well. And I know that I've found Clay actually has worked with me, has been kind of a coach for me in terms of like focus and what we call conscious flow control. But I found that like if you quit trying to do all the things all at once, and you learn how to focus on one thing at one time, and you learn how to do it right, and get into what's called like that zone state or that flow state, especially, it's much more powerful. I used to think that it was good to kind of have some things bounce around the back of my head, and then I'd get to it later. But maybe some idea would just kind of come up to me, and that kind of happens. But it also adds a lot more stress. It makes things a lot more challenging to just do in the moment, and it makes me think about all the other different things that I have to do. So what I'm continuously working on, trying to get better at, right, is the ability to kind of let those other things go and just fully immerse myself and really bring my production level not higher, but like the quality of it ends up being better. Because in that state, you have higher levels of creativity, of seeing patterns, and those are things that I think that I'm going to let Clay get into a lot more. But so the format for today, I'm going to actually kind of do a little business spotlight, Clay's journey and background, because he's got an interesting journey and background that has led him to where he is now, that I think some people can kind of identify with in some ways, where life was going one path and then it kind of led another based on a pretty big experience. And then we'll have another break, and then we'll come back and we'll go a lot deeper into what conscious flow control is and some steps you can start taking now to be able to take advantage of it, get in the zone, and raise that productivity for yourself, and maybe get your team to get on board with it as well. So we're going to go ahead and go to a quick break, and we'll be right back with Clay. Have you been suffering from chronic pain, disease, or sleep disorders? Did you know that 75 to 90% of disease is caused by inflammation in the body? The sad truth is, most doctors just treat symptoms rather than finding and fixing root causes of inflammation. If you want to fix your health problems, then finding and fixing the cause of the inflammation is a must. It's time to demand this for your health care and start living life to its fullest again. Book a discovery appointment with the Functional Health Team founder, Dr. Flora, to get your answers ASAP at www.functionalhealthteam.com. All right, and we are back, and we are here with Clay Green, enthusiastic Clay, right? Is that the other name?
Live enthusiastically,
Yeah.
but misspell enthusiastically.
Yeah, enthusiastic Clay. Yeah. All right,
Good
man.
to
Well,
see
hey,
you,
it's so good to see you too. I know it's been a little while since we last talked, but I'm always appreciative of the things that you've taught me, and I definitely think more people need to know that. So I'm so glad that you're on here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. So first of all, like I said before, Clay is a coach around conscious flow control, productivity, focus, and I think a lot of us kind of deal with, especially as entrepreneurs, like ADHD and distractions and all that stuff, like I was saying in the intro. But yeah, right, yeah, like yeah, we all deal with that. Like I really have to bring myself down, so to just right. But Clay has been has been helping entrepreneurs do this for how many years now, Clay?
Over a decade at this point.
Over a decade, yeah.
For entrepreneurs.
Right.
The fun part is as I get older and I realize what I'm doing, I realize I've been doing this for 35, almost 40 years, pushing 40 years, 35. I can't do the math. I'm from Alabama. That's why I misspelled the name. But yeah, 35. I've been doing it since my first professional job in the world. I've been helping with productivity and with focus specifically. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's really that area that you've chosen to really dive into, and it's powerful. I think that I think you did a good job reaching out to me on LinkedIn, and that's how we got to talking. And I think that first question they hit me with is, "Hey, are you familiar with flow?" And I'm like, "Is that like the force?" And you're kind of like, "Well, kinda."
Yeah.
So sort of. So first of all, I'd like everybody to kind of know your background, and we'll get into a little bit more about flow control and all that. But yeah, the flow is kind of like the force or being in the zone. But tell me a little bit more about you, Clay. Like, where did your entrepreneurial journey really start? Like, when do you really start feeling that bug?
So, I've found that there's I'm a professional judge and certifier.
Okay.
And just because I'm judging does not mean I'm condemning.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
But that's what we are. Like our our brains, that's what we do is we categorize things and we sort things. And so I've kind of lowered my walls and resistance to owning that and say, hey, I judge people, I judge things, I judge everything. So to answer your question, from a big perspective, there's two types of people. There's more than two, but there's a couple types of people in the world. And I work with both types of people. And I was one of those types of people.
Okay.
And I'm going to, and those were employee. I labeled, this is my label, employee minded.
Yeah.
And it comes down to my parents, the world that I grew up in when I was a very young child was my dad worked a job. My mom worked a job. My mom was either at home or working a job. And my dad worked a job people. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not condemning anybody again. But then there's people that were born into a family who the parents were some kind of entrepreneurial. So entrepreneurial or business owner mindsets. So these are two different types of mindsets. I was a kid pushing the lawnmower down the street to get enough money to put gas in the tank or to buy the soda pop at the corner store or whatever. It was a Coke back when, what we called it then. Even if it was Mountain Dew, I was buying it was a Coke. I'm going to get a Coke.
That Alabama, you said?
So my whole life I've had the bug, but like you pointed out, it was about 10 years ago when I was able to actually get traction, and between then, I gained expertise and experience in a lot of things that blow my mind today. As I keep digging into the knowledge that it takes to help people get productive, and I go learn a lesson, I realize, wow, I was using this technique or this project or this process 30 years ago or 25 years ago when I was a nuclear reactor operator in the Navy.
Wow.
And that was my first pro job, kind of like my first real job. Is I got certified and qualified as a nuclear reactor operator and an instructor in the Navy, and so that's why I love training. I guess is I got that early.
Okay, so
Yeah.
nuclear reactor instructor. So is that something that really requires a lot of focus? I mean, like,
No, not really. I mean,
no,
no, it's pretty much
no.
all automated. You don't have to worry about anything. That was sarcasm. Um, it's fun, Matt, because basically what I'm helping people do today, and I'm kind of owning this, is I'm maybe I'm grabbing the Matrix, the new Matrix or whatever, but I
Haven't
realize
seen
I'm
it yet.
helping
No
people.
spoilers.
Ooh,
No spoilers. All
we
right.
got to talk.
I
We got to
I
talk.
keep trying to get my wife to sit down and watch it with me, and I haven't succeeded yet. And so I'm kind of holding off to that. So I've got kind of an excuse, kind of. But
There's
anyway.
another one of those buckets of people. There's a whole bunch of people that are very unhappy with that movie, and then there's a few people that are like, "Whoa, that's incredible." So anyway, I realize now I basically am helping people by freeing their minds because your mind is your limitation, your ideas, your beliefs. If you're trying to take that step from being an employee to an owner, there's things in here that have to shift. There's perspectives of the world that have to shift. And going back to nuclear power school, and when I was an instructor, I'm sorry, throat's kind of getting me a little bit today. Going back to there, focus. The task at hand was helping this new nuclear reactor operator learn a little bit, but mostly become confident enough to own his actions. Because it was not automated, and it required your focus. We would run drills. We would literally run drills, and as soon as the reactor operator under instruction would turn his head to look away at the commotion that was going on somewhere, I reach up and just start throwing the switches that cause all kinds of bad things to happen, and they've got to come back and save the day. So, yeah, you literally had to sit there and focus on this panel for 6 hours a day, 4 hours a day, 8 hours a day. Sometimes it depends on the watch stuff. And not be distracted and always be watching. Okay, that needle just changed. That reading changed 1 degree. That needle changed 4 pounds. Were those did those correlate? What happened? What happened in the reactor? What happened over here? What happened over there? You had to put all these dots together and make sure that everything's happening right and the way you expect it to happen. Otherwise, you need to take corrective action because everybody on the ship, their life depends on it, and more probably.
Wow.
So
well,
focus.
Yeah. Focus. Wow.
Focus.
So you were in the Navy for a number of years. How do you feel? Because we had Darcella Craven from Vet Biz on a couple of shows ago. I'm just curious, real in a nutshell, how do you feel like the Navy prepared you for like the skills that you needed to have for entrepreneurship?
There's 2 paths there.
Yeah.
So when you say the Navy, the Navy in general doesn't. It's a job.
Okay.
The way, right? Like if you just say the Navy, not so much. Now you start pulling apart individuals in the Navy,
leaders. Okay.
Or specific jobs in the Navy. For example, reactor operators or aircraft mechanics, people that are making decisions where people's lives could dramatically be impacted, and they are responsible for tightening that screw or throwing that switch or doing whatever. There's this in the Navy. No, it ain't going to help you get ready. Don't join the Navy to become an entrepreneur.
Oh, okay. So that's a direct path.
Join the Navy and maybe pick a job, because being a nuclear reactor operator, for example, and that's not a job that you can actually pick, by the way. They handpick you and choose you, but they are very adamant about teaching you how to learn. And they're very adamant about integrity.
Wow.
So in that role, I learned, and it was deeply embedded in me. And we're talking like, strip away who you are and rewrite what's right. You don't lie. You do not you own your mistakes. You tell the truth, because if you try to like fib around something a little bit,
Yeah.
that could be the next meltdown.
Wow.
You don't do that,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
how to learn means you have to. They teach you to be humble and recognize that there's very few jobs in the Navy or the military where an enlisted man can say no to an officer, and mine was one of them. So that guy and me and the people that were surrounding me, we all had to be willing to listen, to hear, to try to really pay attention. If I'm gonna go do this because it needs to be done, and somebody yells stop, it's like, but that person's got to give that reason, and I've got to be open enough to understand and learn from them possibly.
Wow.
It's a complex job.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's the decision-making aspect from the leaders. There's the learning how to learn. And what was the other component?
Integrity.
Yeah.
Honesty.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
frankly, I'll be honest with you, Matt, going forward into my business life, trying to build a business, that's always been one of my challenges, because I know, for example, if I sell 100 courses, if 100 people buy a course, or 1,000 or 1,000,000 people buy a course, I know some percentage of those people aren't going to get as much out of that course as some other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I only want to do, this is a Clay thing. I only want to deliver something that's going to hit the biggest, most, I want to be the most effective I can. If I say, for example, today we're talking about conscious flow control. I have no question anywhere in me about how dramatic that can change your life, or how dramatic it can increase your productivity or your profit. There's no question in there. The only question is, are you in the right place to start learning it? And but that and that's made me really picky about who I work with. Only amazing people like Matt.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
and I mean, it's interesting. You kind of, even because we originally were thinking about like hitting some customer service or customer experience stuff, but I mean, that's so true about, like, that's a conversation I had many times, is that some people think, they get upset when like people don't move forward with them, right? Like if people just don't understand the conversation. It's like, look, different people are just in different spots in life, like there's the buyer's journey, and if they're just not there yet, then it's okay. I was actually having this conversation the other day with a sales guy, and we were talking a little bit about kind of like the book, the Go for No book. Basically, it basically.
So, yep.
Have you read that one? Yeah. But I was saying, like, it's like, as a salesperson, part of your role is understanding, like, hey, most people that you call, they're not ready to buy, and even the people who are ready to buy, not all of them are going to be a good fit. So your role, effectively, like when you're doing cold calls, you're weeding out the people who are not ready, who are not a good fit. Like, that's your role. Like, you want to help somebody make a good buying decision. Well, they got to be ready, and they got to be a good fit. Then they've, of course, they got to have the money. But there's that aspect of it as well. But then that's also, they're probably not really truly ready.
It's so tricky. The can of worms you just opened is so tricky because think about it. If you've spent 20 or 30 years as an employee,
yeah,
your whole life is to get a promotion. Your whole life is to gain experience and get promoted and be a good member of the team.
Yeah.
Basically get along with everybody. Get along with your boss or your subordinates or your team members. Make everybody as comfortable and happy to be working with you as you can.
Yeah.
And that is incredibly counterintuitive, or the opposite of, okay, these 1,000 people are going to see this ad, and that ad's job is to say, this is not for you, basically. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
to a degree.
And that's that mindset shift that I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, as an entrepreneur, I think that's one of those things that are hard to struggle with. And when you get started, I mean, sometimes you just got to pay the bills. So if something comes along and it's not quite there, but like, I get it. I get it. Everybody's been there where it's like, I guess I'll try to make this work this one time. And then typically you're like, oh, I really shouldn't have done that. But yeah, moving forward, live and learn. I probably would have been, if I would have taken that time wasted on that and the energy wasted on that, I probably could have found 2 clients that would have been, much better to work with. You ever been there? Ever? No, just me.
I'm going to keep this on the way down low, but you have no idea. We're having a parallel conversation here, aren't we, Matt? You're talking about something. We're talking about something we talked about 20 minutes ago. And like, yeah,
right.
Yes, 100%. I relate to the story that you're telling. And that's that first several years. So after the Navy, I took another job as a trainer in the semiconductor manufacturing industry. So there's a couple things, and there's a reason I'm going here. In that industry, in the 90s, there was one company that mattered, Intel, right? Intel was the king chip maker on the planet, and they were my number one customer. And my job was to teach their experienced engineers how to use a machine to put atoms in specific spots in silicon. Like it's crazy. Like, so for somewhere around 20, 25 years of my life, my area of expertise was in the subatomic realm, subatomic physics, quantum physics.
So you're kind of like Ant-Man. Is that?
Yeah. I'm playing around, down around electron. I'm playing with electrons, protons, and neutrons, literally, for the majority of my career. But back to the integrity. The lesson that I learned there really quick was you do not try to you can't as I stepped into those rooms, and this is a huge lesson for those entrepreneurs starting out, because you feel like you want to have all the answers. You're the answer guy. You're the person. You're the reason they're coming. You're supposed to have all the answers. Well, guess what? You don't, and you won't ever. So stop. Do not try to act like you do. If somebody asks you a question that you don't know the answer to, repeat after me, everybody. These are 3 powerful words. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, but
powerful.
It's powerful to say, I don't know, but I'm going to get you the answer. Right. Like, or I can connect you with the right person who can get you an hour, or like, I mean, I have seen that backfire sometimes, where people are like, well, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, please note, did you know that's not the energy I had? I was like, I don't know. I was still engaged. I'm still there, but
there's a difference in how you deliver that statement. I don't know versus, it's a good question. I don't know the answer, but we'll find out.
I can promise you, because in my conscious flow course, in conscious flow world, no, I can't say that. See, you just caught me. I just did it. I was about to say everything, and then I realized I can't say that. So I backed up, and I'm going to correct myself. In conscious flow control, there are some topics that there is somewhat, some people think there is somewhat questionable scientific backup or backing to this practice or that practice. They're like, they don't understand the connection between, let me just call it out, meditation and the science behind it. They haven't learned that deep enough yet. They don't know it. So, where was I going with that? With the gray areas. So there's these gray areas, and it's okay to not know about those gray areas. And I say that frequently. I do my best to draw a line when I'm talking to somebody. Oh, that's what I was going to say, Matt, is every person that I talk to, the people that I end up working with, they 100% love the fact that I use those words. I don't know. I think maybe ABC equals 43, but I'm not sure. Let's go do the math.
Yeah.
Let me research that, whatever. Right. So
Yeah.
owning that gap is so powerful. If you can,
Wow.
and you owning it is important. Yeah.
Wow. That's good. Well, thank you for a little bit about that background and history. And I wanted to go ahead and give you a chance to like kind of dig in a little bit more about the conscious flow control, and maybe you can kind of talk about your journey there. I know you've got a very powerful story that you're going to share about that, here whenever we get back. We're going to just do another short break with our sponsor. We're going to be getting more sponsors, and if you would like to sponsor out there anywhere out there in the world, we are adding the sponsors, but to the listenership out there. But we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back here with Clay. Have you been suffering from chronic pain, disease, or sleep disorders? Did you know that 75 to 90% of disease is caused by inflammation in the body? The sad truth is, most doctors just treat symptoms rather than finding and fixing root causes of inflammation. If you want to fix your health problems, then finding and fixing the cause of the inflammation is a must. It's time to demand this for your health care and start living life to its fullest again. Book a discovery appointment with the Functional Health Team founder, Dr. Flora, to get your answers ASAP at www.functionalhealthteam.com. All right, and we are back. And all right, so we learned a little bit about Clay's history as a nuclear reactor operator, right, in the Navy. And we found out that does actually take some focus. Otherwise you could blow up everybody on a ship. So that's good to know. Right? It's sort of, kind of, maybe not everybody. Just all right.
We'll blow up.
Okay. Well, the blow up is not the right
yeah.
term. Okay. Is meltdown, radiation, right? Like, okay.
Lots of painful death and destruction. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So not quite a blow up, but a meltdown. All right. Fair enough. And then you really worked with engineers, and you were talking about the subatomic level, and you're kind of Ant-Man. So now what you've been focusing on into the last decade, especially, is this idea of conscious flow control, and getting into the zone. I think a lot of people think, oh, well, man, I was in the zone. It was great. I had to hit a bunch of monsters, and man, I was just like programming all night. Oh yeah, but apparently you can control that.
You can control it. You can turn it on and off. That's the news.
It's just you have to pound down a monster, right? That's what you got to do, like a monster drink, an energy drink.
It's two and 3/4 of a monster.
Right.
No,
that's what you got to do. No, there's a different way, maybe even a healthier way.
Healthy way.
Okay.
So,
all right.
The number one thing that people take away from this course, and that people tell me is the most valuable thing they take away. I'm sorry, I will conquer this throat in the next 48 hours. I did a lot of talking yesterday. The number one thing people take away is kind of what you were talking about. And I came up with a new way to describe in the zone. I call it the zoomy zoom zone.
The zoom zone. All right.
So Matt was saying maybe you're familiar with getting into the zoomy zoom zone, or into the zone, and you're performing and you're knocking things out. Maybe you're coding, maybe you're writing emails, maybe you're doing sales calls, maybe you're playing basketball or baseball. I don't know. But the number one thing that people take away is that you can and must and should, you have to have a recovery period.
Okay.
And that period, when you're done with the flow state, when you come down out of flow state, it does not feel as good as the flow state. So most people unknowingly will do things to feel better, because I'm supposed to feel good. And I felt good. I'm supposed to keep feeling good, but I'm kind of sad. I'm depressed. I'm tired. I'm, whatever it is. And it's funny because, athletes don't have this problem anymore. Athletes have learned that they need to recover. But you sitting at your computer desk for freaking 6 hours straight, creating your art, whatever that art is, you're going to come down, and it's not going to feel as dramatic as like an hour of playing intense basketball versus nap time. It's going to be It's going to be a smaller step. And so you're going to notice it and you're going to feel like, I think I want to feel better. Maybe I'll turn on YouTube. Maybe I'll look at TikTok. Maybe I'll start a movie. Maybe I'll grab a
Yeah.
coffee. Maybe I'll go have a fight with the wife or the husband. So we unconsciously do things to try to stay in flow. And just the awareness right there, and going, you know what? I want to go do this. I want to go stay happy. I want to go just like you said earlier, let it settle. And it's okay to not feel good after you just crushed it. That's the most valuable thing people take away, because implementing that recovery period changes everything.
Yeah. I love that, because before, working with you, Clay, in the past, I would work really hard, and then I'd beat myself up because I might like scroll through Facebook or do something that was kind of a little bit more mind numbing. But once I realized, like, hey, like that is me just trying to get in basically a cheap flow state. So, I work really hard, I'm in flow, and I kind of, it's like you get, you have that down time, that recovery phase, and then you kind of like, you do something to kind of take your mind off of it, and that ends up becoming like a cheap flow state, just to try to get yourself back into it, right?
I like how you keep repeating cheap, because it's not cheap. It's expensive as hell.
Yeah.
Like if we're talking about Facebook, or if we're if we're talking about, let's go here for a second. Let's say you just had a productive, like everybody knows, do the most important thing in the first hour, right? Your first hour of work every day. Don't look at your email. What is the thing that you need to be focused on? Do that first. You get done with that, and then you do your next most important thing, or maybe then you check email, and then you're like, okay, I need my morning break. And then you open TikTok or Facebook. Well, slow it down for a second. Let's talk about what's happening. Let's just use TikTok because there's one video playing or one picture showing instead of like 2 or 3 at once. Okay. If you're looking at that, instantly your brain is inputting or getting inundated with information that you have to make a decision about. So it's like this millisecond decision. Do I watch this for a couple seconds to see if I want to keep watching it for 3 minutes? How long is this video? Oh, I'm on TikTok, and one of my things is, if I see part 1 anywhere on there, I just swipe immediately. Right? So here's my point. Right there, you just made 3, 5, maybe up to 10 decisions just about that first video that TikTok showed you. And then let's say that decision was, I don't want to watch this one. That girl's ugly. That boy is stupid, whatever it is. You scroll. Now you got 10 more decisions. Scroll. 10 more decisions. And this time you decided to watch it. Woo! And you were rewarded because it was funny. So now you've got all these brain chemicals, all this stuff going on in your body. And you just, in less than a minute, less than 30 seconds possibly, you just went through multiple huge quantities of up, down decision making, chemicals just going all over the place in your body. It is incredibly expensive. And I'm talking about the first 30 seconds. God help you if you got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. So not only is it expensive in terms of like the time that you're kind of wasting, but it's also expensive in terms of like the neurotransmitters and the energy and the decision making and all this stuff that goes into even simple decisions about which video to watch.
What it's not which video, it's watch this video. Yes, no. This is important. This is very important. TikTok's got it down. You make a decision immediately. Yes, no. It's black, it's white, it's green, it's red.
Okay.
So let's go there for a second. Green, red decision, green, red decision, green, red decision. I'm not even stressing the time that you're on there. That's cheap compared to the quantity of energy your brain is burning. Your brain burns more energy. Literally, more calories are burned by your brain making decisions than any other muscle in your body. So that burn is going to cost you. Now, real quick.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going going to cost huge because you get finished doing that for 5 or 10 minutes and then you come back. How long is it going to take you to get back into flow?
Now, yeah, and now let's kind of tease that part for a second, 1 second, because at one hand you said, you've got like 10 decisions to make, but then you're like, well, it's a yes or no decision. But what you're saying, go ahead.
Well,
you go, Clay.
So when you first look at it, you, Matt, and I are going to have different things we're looking at.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a quick yes, no. And let's just say it's yes. Then there's going to be something else you look at.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's another yes, no. And it's all these yes, no decisions stacked up about that one video. And what you're seeking is the endorphin hit of the reward or the dopamine hit of a good decision. That's what you are physically addicted to. If you're addicted to scrolling social media, Instagram, Facebook, any of them, that's what you're addicted to. It's like, I don't want to watch that. Oh, that was a good decision. You didn't waste your time on that one. You're not thinking that. This isn't you consciously thinking. This is the back part of your brain and your body doing all this stuff unconsciously. So it's like I made a good decision to not watch that video. And then you look at the next one and it's, yes, I want to watch because she's pretty. Yes, I want to watch because, I don't know, it says she's 50 years old. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Or it's a business podcast, or yes, I want to watch for some reason. Yes. And then you decide to invest 60 seconds into this video to learn something from Clay on TikTok. Good call. And follow me on TikTok, Enthusiastic Clay. And then you give yourself this little micro reward of dopamine saying, good job, you watched a good video, whether it was a funny video, a sexy girl or a sexy man or a comedy thing or a business lesson. It was a hit of good stuff. And so you're going through this process of no, yeah. Oh, that wasn't even that good. And you get let down. And then you go, no, decision, burning energy.
Yeah.
And then it's just this nonstop thing. I'm not saying don't use social media. I'm saying use it consciously.
Okay. Use it consciously. All right. So when we're talking about like productivity, it's kind of those little energy sucks, if you will, that can really kill our productivity. Even if we're trying to, even if we knock something out and then like we think that part of our recovery is to then, I'm going to scroll on Facebook or I'm going to scroll on Instagram or but that actually, you're saying that's not good recovery because you're still spending a bunch of energy just trying to get into like some cheap flow states and some cheap dopamine hits.
You're putting yourself back into flow. You're staying in flow.
Yeah.
So in the conscious flow community and the conscious flow masterclass, we break down the flow sessions so that you can have multiple flow sessions a day working on multiple different projects, multiple different tasks.
Yeah.
There's another very, very popular book and trainer and person out there who's an artist, and he teaches people how to go into flow for blocks of time, like 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, and work on a project. If you're an artist and you're a person that can sit down and do something for that significant of a period of time, good. I'm not. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm wearing many hats. I have meetings. I have emails, I have lead generation, I'm building things. So I've got all these hats, I've got all these different projects, and I'm using my schedule and I'm using my planner and I'm prioritizing everything, which is all those are skills that you need to build. But when it comes time to do the work, there's two things I want to point out. One, the recovery. You finish, you set a timer, for a work session, and you allow yourself to recover. And that means taking a few minutes and actually reviewing what you just did and giving yourself a thumbs up or a thumbs down, just like you do unconsciously looking at a TikTok video.
Okay.
So you give yourself that hit of a reward, or oh, you didn't do so good. But we'll talk about the goal setting on the launch part.
Well, yeah. Well, and we've got about 5 minutes before we need to wrap up. So let's make sure we hit upon some of the stuff that you want to hit upon. So real quick, recovery is key. Because otherwise you might end up getting sucked into some other energy sucks and things that can really kill your productivity for the rest of the day, because you've wasted a bunch of energy and trying to get into another flow state and all that. So it's important to learn how to recover. And you're saying that part of that is kind of an evaluation process, like how did I do and what can I do better? I almost liken it like, the fact that we have to dream every day. When we sleep, we dream. And that's part of our brain processing things. Like our brain just needs to process what happened, and so you're just allowing yourself to process what happened, and then you can kind of put that to bed and then move on to the next thing. Is that a fair way of saying it?
That is. So I haven't said it in this format right now today, but that's physically what the recovery period is for. Yes, the recovery. There's 4 stages in a flow session.
Okay.
The third stage is flow, and the 4th stage is recovery. And that recovery period is physically for your brain to coalesce and condense itself around what you just learned or what you just experienced. If you immediately go and flip on TikTok or something and go right back into flow, you don't allow your brain to do that. So anything you did learn, anything you did, maybe you did better because you did a great flow launch routine. Maybe you did better in this session at writing an email. Your plan was to write this email and you gave yourself 30 minutes to do it. But holy cow, you created this masterpiece in 15 minutes. And then you will say, okay, I did that in 15 minutes. Awesome. I'm going to celebrate. Let me go do TikTok. Well, you literally are taking away your ability to retain the gift that you just gave yourself if you do not have a conscious recovery. And real quick, conscious recovery is maybe some people can get it down to 4 to 5 minutes of this recovery period, but you're going to probably start about 10 minutes of a conscious series of steps to bring you out of flow consciously and to do that review and to feel good about not being in flow anymore. And then drink some water, move around a little bit. Then we get back into the flow launch routine, which includes the first 2 stages of the 4 stages in the state of flow.
Okay. So what are the 4 stages real quick?
Struggle.
Okay.
Release.
All right.
Flow. Recovery.
Okay, struggle, release, flow, and recovery, right? So what is the struggle? Like that doesn't sound very pleasant.
The biggest headline is I told you the number 1 thing people take away. Well, this is number 2.
All right.
Here's the headline. The struggle does not have to be a struggle.
Well, that seems counterintuitive. So what do you mean by that?
Okay, so everybody's going to be familiar with, I'm stressed out because I have to take a test. I'm nervous before I'm nervous before the big game, or I'm nervous before the sales call.
Yeah.
Maybe you've got a sales call scheduled for Thursday and it's Tuesday of the previous week and it's a big important sales call and you basically stress about it a week and a half. That is your struggle. You're struggling. That's what struggling is. Well, in conscious flow control, we take that struggle and we condense it down to a 3 to 5 minute little routine where you consciously struggle a little bit. Because in order to actually go into flow, there needs to be this urgency. Like the big flow story that you were talking about was I hit a deer on my motorcycle and it hit me actually. And it hit in a way that I should have crashed and died, frankly. But instantly, when I saw the deer eye, I went into a flow state. So I was struggling. My struggle period was really short. Oh, crap, I'm going to die. And I kind of accepted that I was going to die. But then I performed.
Hmm.
And I did not even crash, much less die. I'm still here. But
Right.
so the point is the struggle doesn't have to be a struggle if you know how to build this little struggle thing. So in the example before, you got this guy getting ready for that sales call in a week and a half. Don't get me wrong, you're probably going to need to do some prep, right? But you're not going to have to stress about it the whole time. That prep becomes a flow session. Where's it at? That
Okay.
way. That prep hour or 2 or 3 hours, they each become their own flow session. And you have a little mini struggle launch period. You go into flow and you prep, and then you have a recovery period, 5-10 minutes. And that prep session is going to be one of the best prep sessions of your life. And you're not going to worry about the call that's 3 or 4 days away, because you got another prep session and another prep session, and you know you crush it on the calls anyway, because you're going to go into flow right before the call. You're not going to do what most people do and have that nervous, awkward, weird struggle first 5 minutes of a call. You're going to go into flow before the call because of your launch routine.
Okay.
And when for example.
Okay. So it's possible to have that launch routine. So that launch routine is basically kind of how you create a struggle around what you have to do to get yourself and to kind of push yourself into that flow state. And I think one of the things that and we have to kind of start wrapping up here, but real quick, I just wanted to kind of hit upon the point that like the flow state is a real thing with like chemicals that hit your brain and in a different way. And it's not necessarily just that your brain is suddenly so active, it's that your brain is kind of being used in a different way. It makes those connections, that lateral thinking, and it kind of gets rid of worrying about the past or the future, so you can just focus on that moment and that state of just being like that oneness, right? Like that oneness with the universe at that highest level, right?
So the best book I can point to is The Rise of Superman, that explains what's going on up here. It's a great book and it's a great explanation, and we teach it. This is part of the conscious flow control. What's going on is when you go. So first off, everybody has experienced being in the zone. Maybe it's work, maybe it's play, maybe it's sex, maybe it's watching a movie, watching The Matrix. I was in the flow. All 4 or 5 times I've watched it, I've gone into flow. So, so you've experienced being in the zone. What is physically happening there? Back in the day, they thought that people's brains was working faster because these geniuses were making great works of art. What's really happening is different parts of your brain are literally shutting down. And as those parts of the brain shut down, it allows more energy to be used by the unconscious parts of your brain. And exactly what you said, Matt, all these connections can be made. So these crazy things from over here and from over here, from your weird experience of being a nuclear reactor operator and a snowboard instructor and a sport bike rider and a semiconductor manufacturer, all these things can come together and keep you upright on your motorcycle in this crazy moment, because different parts of your brain shut down.
That's right. And I think everybody's experienced a certain way in a certain time. So I think that it's it absolutely is something that more people, perhaps every individual, really should better understand about themselves. So what are some ways, as we're kind of wrapping up, what are some ways for people to get a hold of you? Like, what's your website? Should people email you, call you?
The number one thing that's going to align with everybody listening to this, if you're listening at this point and you want more information, consciousflowcommunity.com/, or whatever, get-flow. Conscious Flow Community, get-flow. I'm just going to make sure that, that's the number one most easiest way. And reach out to me. Reach out to me if you're ready, and if you have a team that needs to get more productive or whatever, reach out. Give me a shout. We'll talk.
And so you'll do it for entrepreneurs and their teams, right? So and just to be clear, that's the symbol dash, right? Get dash flow. All right. Just want to make sure people understand that, right? Because it could be like I'm dash anyway. All right. Well, thank you so much, Clay, for being on the show today, and thank you out there for listening. Really, really appreciate it. And again, like take take some action with this information. Flow can be controlled. Either reach out to Clay, grab the book, Rise of Superman, reach out to me. I'll probably connect you with Clay, and we'll be happy to make sure that we help. Thanks. Thank you for being with us today. But now is the time to put what we talked about into practice. Remember, your family, employees, and community are depending on you to rise up and win. The great news is you're not alone. You're part of a resurgence of entrepreneurs who are ready to take their business, life, and impact to the next level, and we're going to do it together. This show is powered by Time for Success, where we help business owners every day who want more freedom and wealth while building a legacy of positive impact. Please follow Time for Success on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for more helpful strategies and tools for creating the business and life